So the sad day has come because Grand Tour has officially ended. Now this marks almost 22 or 23 years together as the trio. They started, I think, back in 2002 or 2003, one of them. I think it was 2002, I'm not too sure. However, they started a very long time ago and they've come a long way, a very, very long way. And in fact, I think it's now part of the tradition to, watch old Grand Tour and old Top Gear episodes because they are really entertaining. And to be honest, they made some of the best automotive content or journalism, whatever you want to say, there is to offer. And in fact, they did their own twist and did their own spin on things, which I actually enjoy and I like very much. And to be honest, it's not something you see very much of these days. Now, the Grand Tour has been going on for, 8 years now? They've been doing that. And I think it was 2019, I think 5-6 years ago now, they decided to cancel a pretty big part of the show, a big part of the show that was there since Top Gear. And it was the sit-down part of the show and the track part of the show, where they'd get celebrities on and stuff. And that was the good thing about Top Gear. Now, I did enjoy the specials. I absolutely loved the specials of Top Gear and Grand Tour. And that's kind of what they've focused on in the past few years, ever since 2019 or early 2019. When they decided to sort of cut that part of the show, and maybe that was them preparing slowly to wind down and just do specials until obviously the day comes of them cancelling the show or sort of airing down and dumbing down the show. But it is what it is, and I think the Grand Tour and the Top Gear, the whole of it, I think most of the crew actually ended up leaving Top Gear and moving over to the Grand Tour. So most of the crew they have, I think, have worked with Jeremy, James, and Richard for the whole time, and that's pretty cool to see. And obviously Andy Willman, he followed over, which I'm glad he did because he kept it the way it was. And I'm glad he did because the Grand Tour still worked out perfect. That guy is an absolute miracle. Without him, I don't think the Grand Tour would be half of what it is. Obviously, Jeremy, the trio definitely make up a lot of that, but you got to give respect to the camera crew and the people behind the scenes that make it happen and make all this stuff and help out with various things. There's a lot of things that the trio couldn't do without them, and I'm sure they are very grateful for them. And after all them years, they've travelled all over the world, all over. They've gone to Africa, they've gone to war zones. I think they went to Syria. They've gone to all sorts. They've gone to Scotland. They've gone everywhere. Obviously not everywhere in the world. I think they went to Russia. I'm not too sure. They went to Ukraine. That was another challenge they did. They did the a fuel economy thing. I think they put a quarter of a tank or something like that in, and they had to run out before Chernobyl. That was a very cool thing. They had the Patagonia special. That was a really good special. That was the special that caused a lot of controversy, especially in Argentina with the Falklands, because the license plate, I think it had FLK or something on the license plate, which caused a huge amount of controversy within everyone in Argentina. They had to kind of hide out a little bit to get away from all the trouble and stuff like that. And that was a really good episode as well. And I'm just looking back at all these Top Gear specials, and I think it was the Botswana special was the actual first special. I think James was in an Opel Kadett. I think it was called Oliver, the Opel, and he actually, I think, took that back with him. And James, I think, had a Mercedes. I can't remember what it was, and I think Jeremy had a Lancia. That episode, I think is crowned probably one of the first specials. I think they did small specials before that, but that was like the first official special they did. And I do remember that special. It was pretty crazy looking back at it. Almost, I think, 17 years ago that special aired. I think 2007, November 2007, an incredible time, you know. And again, this was when Top Gear was just starting on the edge to become big, and it was blowing up very slowly. They were averaging apparently 300 million, but I'm going to say maybe a bit more than that. 300 million, so almost a billion or maybe more a month, you know, of viewers. Again, these guys were known worldwide, and they still are. They're treasured by a lot of people, and a lot of people know who they are, you know, and respect what they do. And again, not everyone who was watching the Grand Tour and Top Gear, you know, liked cars. A lot of them just liked because they were funny and stuff. I tuned in for the cars, obviously, as well, because, you know, I think they created a generation of car enthusiasts by doing what they did. You know, because you enjoyed what they did. You enjoyed, you know, that they came together as a group and a trio and stuff like this, but you also enjoyed the fact that, you know, they were passionate about what they did. And it was like the trio, they were making jokes at each other, doing stupid things, and again, that's what made the Grand Tour perfect in every way, shape, or form. And I'm glad to have, you know, watched that. And again, if you have never watched the Grand Tour and Top Gear, I do recommend you sink in straight into it, because it is an absolute brilliant show, and you'll be there for a long time. I think Jeremy, I think they've done over, if we're including Top Gear and Grand Tour, they've probably done over 30 seasons of content and TV stuff, which is a hell of a lot of seasons to actually do. Probably maybe 500 episodes, 600 episodes together, a lot of episodes and a lot of hours. It's a shame we never really got to see any behind the scenes. I really hope, you know, one day maybe they could reveal a huge catalogue, because I'm sure they have recorded behind the scenes and stuff like that, of just the behind the scenes of everyone, the crew and all that, having fun and stuff. That would be cool to send it off as well. I don't think they have, but again, that would be cool if they do have any sort of behind the scenes footage. That would be, you know, just to send it off in a way. But again, it's a brilliant show, and I'm glad. Over these years, again, I think these guys started doing it when they were probably in their 40s. Jeremy might have started doing it in his late 40s, and Richard maybe his late 30s. You know, they've come a very, very long way, and I think looking at them all, it's an incredible show. You know, you had James, which is kind of the smart ass of the guy. You know, he's kind of the person you'd come to if you actually want to know something, because he'd give you an explanation. And he was quite a funny guy, very underrated within his funniness. His humour was quite good as well. And then you had Jeremy, kind of a loudmouth type of person. You know, and he'd speak what he wanted, and he'd say it how he wanted. So if he didn't like something like a car or something like that, obviously, as we all know, that's why he probably got fired from Top Gear, because he said what he said. And then you had Richard, which was kind of the in between. Which again, it's one of them things. You do look at Top Gear, and you kind of wonder and hope that one day we will see them do other. I mean, they've got their other projects on. I think Jeremy's got his own pub. I think James actually has his own pub. They both are very occupied with what they're doing. I think James as well has various other shows on Amazon. So does Richard. They're all occupied, and they're still probably going to be doing shows and stuff like that. I know Jeremy's probably still going to continue Clarkson's Farm because, well, number one, it's very successful and it's free promotion for his pub and his business. But I'm sure he's probably enjoying the road as well. And it kind of keeps, it's something where he can keep at home. You know, he doesn't have to go off and cart off to another country, which again, I think his health is pretty declining to begin with. So him, you know, going all over and going to other countries probably isn't the best for his health. So it's probably best, maybe he stays at home, and, you know, he can still do his episodes of Clarkson's Farm, because that's not really needed to move all over the place like incredibly. But yeah, it's a sad time because, you know, the Grand Tour, Top Gear, they're not doing anything anymore. They're not even airing. I think the last episode was December 2022, the last time I checked, which is kind of sad. It's a sad time to end off Top Gear. I think one of the presenters, Freddie Flintoff, which was a cricketer, actually had a pretty bad accident, rough accident. And after that, I think they paid him out, and I don't think they've ever come back after that, which is unfortunate, to be honest, because not really that I say I actually watched it, because I think after season 22 or season 23, a lot of the viewers probably left once Jeremy had been axed from the show, because, well, let's be honest, that's kind of the core audience was tuning in for. They were tuning in for three friends who bitched and bickered at each other, and that's kind of what made it what it was. That's kind of why I enjoyed the Grand Tour. There was these three grown men who still acted like teenagers, and they still do, which is, you know, very entertaining to watch. Maybe some people think it's stupid, and maybe some people think they're assholes. I know Jeremy is half and half. He's kind of been hated on for his opinions on some things. I know his opinions on electric cars have been very strong over the years, while Richards and James have kind of been neutral. But, you know, Jeremy's that type of person. He'll say it how he says it. And yeah, again, it's a very sad time. You know, watching again, 22 years, 23 years together. That's a long fucking time of your life. That's an incredible time of your life, in fact. You know, I think these guys have come a very long way within the show's history, and I think they're going to probably do some incredible stuff with the show in the future. And I do think if you are someone who is a regular viewer of the Grand Tour, if you haven't watched Clarkson's Farm, heck, I do recommend you getting into Clarkson's Farm and actually watching it from the beginning. I think there's 2 or 3 seasons out now. And again, it's a very good thing. I think they're like 10 episodes a season, so you'll sink your teeth right into that pretty well, to be honest with you. So it's an unfortunate thing the Grand Tour's going. Yes, it is. A lot of people did enjoy the Grand Tour and where it came from. You know, 8 years of that, and I think, I don't know how long of Grand Tour, but, you know, of Top Gear, you know, they did an incredible time of that, and obviously, I think their contracts were being already renewed in when Jeremy did that. I mean, I don't know if Jeremy did that because of his contracts being renewed. I don't know. But yeah, they decided to go to Amazon, and obviously they had a much bigger budget, as you could see by what they did. And yeah, the final episode of this, it'll probably make some people tear up. In fact, a lot of people who are pretty invested in the Top Gear series and the Grand Tour series, you know, they've come an incredible way, and it's a very sad time for them. It's an episode that it's a weird episode because it's more of an episode of just reflecting back over the history. It's not your typical type of episode. You know, they're not on rules. They're not on strict rules or anything like that. They're just enjoying themselves. which is something kind of weird because we normally see them follow a strict set of rules that, and I think Andy Willman have set them. And yeah, this time they haven't actually followed that. So it's kind of cool in my opinion. I like the way they're going with it, and I the episode's great. Nice little send off. I don't want to spoil too much because I know there is spoilers and all that. I will tell you what it actually says on the actual Amazon thing though, because that's technically not a spoiler because you can actually just read that straight from the thing. So this is what it actually says. One for the road. In the last Grantar adventure, Jeremy, James, Richard, and ignore instructions of Mr. Willman and head to Zimbabwe in 3 cars they've always wanted to own: a Lancia Montelago, Ford Capri 3-litre, and a Triumph Stag. So yeah, a lot different. For a stunning road trip through beautiful and sometimes challenging landscapes leading to an emotional ending with a strangely familiar island. Now, it's already out. This isn't really actually a spoiler because they've already put it on their Instagram. Well, Jeremy has. They actually found the old vehicles that they used in Botswana 17 or so years ago, which blows my mind because I know, again, Richard actually took his car home. I think he still has it. But James and Jeremy, I think they kind of, I don't want to say they destroyed it, but they modified them pretty well. So they were kind of like keeping them would probably not be the best thing. But Richard, I remember that episode, he didn't actually want to modify his. And they were making jokes about him for not doing that. But yeah, he didn't want to modify it or change anything with it. And he kept it. He's actually, I think he did a video a few years ago on Drive Tribe about it. Man, that's a great episode, the Botswana episode. I do recommend you. I think the actual president of Botswana actually came to talk to them when they were doing it, which was pretty wild. I think that was the episode. But yeah, I think, again, they found their original cars, the Mercedes and the Lancia they'd used for that, and they were obviously not in great condition, but they were in a lot better condition than I thought. Then again, it is Africa, so corrosion is probably not going to be as common as somewhere that's pretty wet and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very sad episode, and I do recommend if you are going to be watching it, be prepared. It's like 90% of it is kind of, I think, reeling you in to the moment. The last 3-4 minutes of the episode it's pretty sad, but it's quite obvious they are, again, these guys have worked for long hours, probably in other countries, probably a week or two, up to a few weeks together, filming these episodes. It must be you get that connected to someone. It'd be incredible that you're kind of not working together as much, or you're just not working. Now, we may see them cross paths. I'm pretty sure we will. Maybe not in the terms of work and stuff like that. I think they're going to be continuing Drive Tribe. I hope so, because I'd love to see Drive Tribe continue with James and Richard. I don't know if Jeremy actually does anything with Drive Tribe. I don't think he does. I think he's too busy on other stuff. But I know James and Richard actually both do quite a lot with Drive Tribe. So hopefully they do continue with Drive Tribe, because I do actually like that. That's like their hub of stuff, and they created that a few years ago. They created that when they created the Grand Tour. It was supposed to be a 4-room Drive Tribe, but I think they actually ended up cancelling that part of it. But again, I do miss the Grand Tour. It's one thing that I think has come a very, very long way. And it's sad. It's very sad to see them end like this. But again, they are getting on with their age now. You know, they're pretty old, and I don't mean that to be an offense or something like that. But you know, they are getting pretty old, and to be traipsing around countries and stuff like that, especially Jeremy is the oldest of them. You know, and I don't think his health is doing that incredible. So it's not going to help him any way, shape, or form to actually, be moving all over the place to different countries and stuff like that. It's just not going to help his health in any way, shape, or form. But, seeing these trios go this far, it is absolutely incredible to see them do this and do everything like this. I hope to God we don't see the Grand Hall come back again, which might be a stupid thing to say, but we all know what happened to Top Gear when it ended. It fell into a pit, and it never came out, really. They tried to replace it with, other presenters and stuff like that, but it never really found its ground because the presenters didn't really show their enthusiasm for cars and the actual stuff. So it didn't feel as natural as it did, like it was with Jeremy, James, and Richard. So that's why the Grand Tour, that's why a lot of people, moved over to the Grand Tour and stuff, because these guys still kept their personalities and they still acted really good. And I'm sure that's why lots of people loved it. But again, it is a sad time to see it. They've closed down their production studio as well. That was part of it. But yeah, it's a very sad time to look back at. And I genuinely think that the Grand Tour should just end. It might be a bit of a hitter, a bit of a sad moment. But I think it should just end there. They should end it no more and let it savor, let it stand there, let it stay there for a bit, and just leave it. They could do maybe a spin-off show, but don't connect it and don't ruin the Grand Tour. No one really wants to see it coming back. It's kind of out of respect. I think they should just leave it how it is. In my opinion, to sort of say farewell. But again, it's Amazon, so they may end up spinning it off to, continue money flowing through it. But again, I don't think it will do as well as they expect. Maybe it will. I hope it will. But yeah, I don't know. Personally, I just think they should kind of leave it and send it off like that. But yeah, that's just me. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say about this. The trio, as they're known. They did have some pretty big impact on the automotive industry, and I think, looking back at it, these guys, we got to wish them well.